Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie The Dictator in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called The Dictator. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it, all the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm going to tell you. I also going to give you all the information on which OT platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office, collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film storyline, star cast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. The Dictator is a 2012 political satire comedy film co-written by and starring Sacha Baron Cohen in his fourth feature film in a leading role. The film was directed by Larry Charles, who also directed Baron Cohen's mockumentaries Borat and Bruno. Baron Cohen, in the role of Admiral General Aladdin, the dictator of the fictional Republic of Wadia visiting the United States, stars alongside Anna Faris, Ben Kingsley, and Jason Mantzoukas, with uncredited appearances by John C. Reilly, Gary Shandling, and Edward Norton. Producers Jeff Schaffer and David Mandel said that Baron Cohen's character was inspired by real-life dictators with personality cults like Kim Jong-il of North Korea, Idi Amin of Uganda, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, Bokassa Vust of the Central African Empire, Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire, and Sapar Murat Niyazov of Turkmenistan. Despite the Republic of Wadia being located in real-life Eritrea, its own dictator, Isaias Afwerki, was not referenced as inspiration. The film's opening credits sarcastically dedicate it in loving memory to Kim Jong-il, who died in 2011. It received mixed reviews from critics, grossing $190.2 million. Plot: for years, the fictional Republic of Wadia, located in the Horn of Africa, has been ruled by dictator Omar al-Din since the country's separation from Ethiopia. One day, about 20 years into his rule, he dies and is succeeded by his son, Admiral General Hafez al-Din. Al-Din surrounds himself with female bodyguards, sponsors terrorism, changes many words in the Wadian dictionary to Al-Din, and develops nuclear weapons to be used against Israel. He also refuses to sell Wadia's oil fields, a promise he made to Omar before his death. After the United Nations Security Council resolves to intervene militarily, Al-Din travels to the UN headquarters in New York City to address the council. Shortly after arriving, Al-Din is kidnapped by Clayton, a hitman hired by Al-Din's uncle, Tamir Mafrad, whom Omar passed over as successor in favor of Al-Din. Tamir then replaces Al-Din with a decoy, a dim-witted shepherd named Efawad, whom he intends to manipulate into signing a document democratizing Wadia while opening up the oil fields to foreign interests. Al-Din escapes after Clayton accidentally burns himself to death in a failed torture attempt. When Clayton's burnt corpse is discovered, Tamir thinks that Al-Din has been killed. Meanwhile, Al-Din is practically unrecognizable as Clayton has shaved off his beard. Wandering through New York City in civilian clothes, Al-Din assumes the false identity of Allison Burgers and encounters Zoe, a human rights activist who offers him a job at her progressive, alternative lifestyle cooperative. Al-Din refuses the offer and encounters Nadal, the former chief of Wadia's nuclear weapons program, whom Al-Din thought he had previously executed over an argument about the missile design. Al-Din follows him to New York's Little Wadia district, which is populated by refugees from his own country, and meets Nadal at Death to Al-Din restaurant, a restaurant run by and visited by people whom Al-Din had ordered to be executed. After a failed attempt to cover up his identity, Al-Din is accused of being an Al-Din sympathizer by a waiter and nearby visitors. Nadal saves Al-Din from being attacked and reveals that all the people who had been ordered to be executed are instead sent into exile to the United States, as the executioners are a resistance. Nadal agrees to help Al-Din regain his power, on the condition that Al-Din makes him head of Wadia's nuclear program again. Al-Din later accepts Zoe's job offer, as she is catering at the hotel where the signing will occur. Al-Din grows closer to Zoe and eventually falls in love with her. While turning around Zoe's struggling business, Aladdin begins imposing strict schedules on everyone, forming a personality cult around Zoe and intimidating an inspector into giving the store a good review. However, Aladdin's relationship with Zoe becomes strained after he decides to reveal his true self to her. She cannot love a man who is so brutal to his people. After acquiring a new beard taken from a corpse, Aladdin ziplines into the hotel and talks to Effawad, who was fooled into thinking that the supreme leader was ill. At the signing ceremony, Aladdin tears up Tamir's document in front of the media and holds an impassioned speech praising the virtues of dictatorship. However, upon seeing Zoe in the room, he declares his love for her and, knowing her strongly held views, vows to democratize Wadia and open up the oil fields for business, but in a way where the general populace will benefit. Furious, Tamir attempts to shoot Aladdin. Effawad saves Aladdin, getting hit in the head in the process, but survives, and Tamir is arrested. A year later, Wadia holds its first democratic elections, 30 years after its independence. However, they are rigged in favor of Aladdin, who has now added the title President Prime Minister to his previous Admiral General, who, for example, uses tanks to force people into his voting line. Afterwards, he marries Zoe, but is horrified when she breaks a glass with her foot and reveals herself to be Jewish. Aladdin's convoy now consists of eco-friendly cars. Nadal is reinstated, and Zoe reveals in an interview that she is pregnant with the couple's first child. Aladdin responds to the news by asking if Zoe is having a boy or an abortion. Unrated version. The unrated cut of The Dictator runs an additional 15 minutes from the original 83-minute theatrical version. Much of the added material is additional sexual content and dialogue. There is a scene following Aladdin falling asleep in the back of the store where one of his bodyguards, Etra, tries to kill him by beating him with her enlarged breasts on orders from Tamir. Another added scene is Mr. Ogden, the manager of the Lancaster Hotel, talking to Zoe at the Collective and canceling the catering contract because of Aladdin. Cast: Sacha Baron Cohen as Admiral General Prime Minister, Hafez Aladdin, Alison Burgers and his double Effawad, Jason Mantzoukas as Nuclear Nadal, Anna Faris as Zoe, Ben Kingsley as Tamir Mafrad, Aladdin's uncle, John C. Reilly uncredited as Clayton, Bobby Lee as Mr. Lau, Syed Badreya as Omar Aladdin, Hafez Aladdin's father and predecessor, Adil Akhtar as Marouche, Fred Armisen as the Death to Aladdin restaurant waiter, Edward Norton uncredited as himself, Adam Lefevre as Man in Helicopter, Megan Fox as herself, Busty Hart as Etra, Chris Elliott as Mr. Ogden, Gary Shandling uncredited as Health Inspector, Chris Parnell as News Anchor, Asif Manvi as Doctor, Rizwan Manji as Patient, Horatio Sands as Aide on Balcony, Fred Melamed as Head Nuclear Scientist, Joey Slotnick as Homeless Man, Jessica St. Clair as Denise, Catherine Hahn as Pregnant Woman, Anna Katerina as Angela Merkel, Kevin Corrigan as Slade, J.B. Smoove as Funeral Usher, Sandra James as Friendly Customer, John Glazer as Obnoxious Customer, Nassim Pedrad as Female GMW Host, Mitchell Green as Joseph, Jenny Saldana as Hannah, David L. Badawi as Aladdin's Stunt Double, Sean T. Krishnan as Waiter Serial-Loving Soldier Music. Main article, The Dictator soundtrack. The film score was composed by Sacha Baron Cohen's brother, Aaron Baron Cohen. The Dictator, music from the motion picture, was released on May 8, 2012 by Aladdin Records. The Dictator is funny, in addition to being obscene, disgusting, scatological, vulgar, crude, and so on. Having seen Sacha Baron Cohen promoting it on countless talk shows, I feared the movie would feel like déjà vu. But no, he establishes a claim to be the best comic filmmaker now working. And in a speech about dictatorships, he practices merciless political satire. The Dictator is funny, in addition to being obscene, disgusting, scatological, vulgar, crude, and so on. Having seen Sacha Baron Cohen promoting it on countless talk shows, I feared the movie would feel like déjà vu. But no, he establishes a claim to be the best comic filmmaker now working. And in a speech about dictatorships, he practices merciless political satire. Compared to the gleeful transgressions of Borat and Bruno, this is Cohen's most conventional film. It has a plot, it has a romance, it sticks to the story. Not that it's mainstream, although judging by the laughter of a preview audience, who knows where the stream is anymore. He also wisely gets in, gets his laughs, and quits. The movie, like Bruno, falls short of 90 minutes, in an era where too many comedies run on relentlessly. Cohen plays General Admiral Al-Adin of the North African nation of Wadiya, which seems superimposed upon parts of Egypt and Sudan, and is a spitting distance from Saudi Arabia. Here he occupies a huge palace, used for addressing admiring throngs of his worshippers and having sex not only with Megan Fox, but also, judging by his wall of postcoital Polaroids, Kim Kardashian, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Oprah. Megan Fox has a great cameo, showing up for sex, but drawing the line at an all-night cuddle. Al-Adin's premier is Tahir, Ben Kingsley, rightful heir to the throne, who is plotting to overthrow him. After an assassination fails, Tahir encourages Al-Adin to address the United Nations, where he hopes another assassination will succeed. After being de-bearded by a security man, John C. Reilly, Al-Adin finds himself wandering the streets of Manhattan while being impersonated in public by a body double. He finds his way into an extreme left-wing health food store run by Zoe, Anna Faris, and despite the radical difference in their beliefs, the General Admiral finds himself falling for her. That sets up satire in general about feminists, vegetarians, and immigrant huggers. Then, Al-Adin wanders into Manhattan's Little Wadea neighborhood, where a Wadiyan restaurant seems filled with people he thought he'd executed. Although the movie very casually follows the progress of the romance and the assassination scheme, Cohen and the director, Larry Charles, are about as dedicated to plot as the Marx Brothers. The movie's spiritual ancestor is duck soup, and Groucho's Fredonian dictator, Rufus T. Firefly. There's also a taste of Buster Keaton's physical humor in a scene where Al-Adin attempts to slide on a cable high above the street into the upper floor of a hotel. Cohen's attack on the material is freewheeling, his attitude is anarchist, and he's more good-humored than in Borat and Bruno. I hope he isn't entertaining any ambitions to become beloved and popular. I expected this to be the most offensive of the three titles, and while you can't say it isn't offensive, especially in scenes involving a dead civil rights leader's severed head, it's somehow nicer, maybe you could say. Footnote: I want to know more about the Newcastle Hotel in New York. I don't believe there is one. It provides the fodder for a running gag about product placement that plugs the name again and again and again. Review: The Dictator. After his Live Ammo situationist spoofs Borat and Bruno, Sacha Baron Cohen has returned to the world of the straight fiction feature with his broad comedy satire, The Dictator. There's one thing to be said straight away. This is not, repeat not, a cinephile homage to Chaplin's The Great Dictator. It is less edgy than Baron Cohen's previous two films, featuring big, conventionally contrived gags and a colossal central turn from the man himself. Baron Cohen's Dictator is set to make Peter Sellers' Inspector Clouseau a model of subtlety and sensitivity. The movie is in the fish-out-of-water tradition of Coming to America and many others. It doesn't, in truth, offer much of a twist on the genre. It does, however, deliver laughs and weapons-grade offensiveness. Baron Cohen plays General Al-Adin, the tyrannical ruler of the oil-rich North African rogue state Wadiya, who is intensely irritated by the Western powers' infatuation with the Arab Spring. This political annoyance is compounded by the stress of having to keep Osama bin Laden in one of the spare rooms in his obscenely opulent palace after the Americans took out one of the al-Qaeda leader's doubles. He exerts a grotesque Orwellian power and abolishes hundreds of words in the Adian dictionary, insidiously eroding his people's moral sense by replacing positive and negative with Al-Adin, leading to tense moments in the Wadian HIV clinics. His confrontation with Washington has reached a crisis after a speech in which he announced Wadiya was just months away from enriching uranium and then corpsed and giggled uncontrollably when trying to claim that this was for clean energy purposes. In fact, Al-Adin is obsessed with nuclear capability and succumbs to Freudian rage at the thought of not having a big missile. Everyone has one, he screams. Even Ahmadinejad, and he looks like a snitch from Miami Vice. There's a horribly funny scene in which Aladdin confronts his nuclear scientist about slow progress and reveals his assumptions about rockets and warhead delivery systems are based entirely upon cartoons. But an invasion threat from the U.S. forces Aladdin's hand. He is compelled to visit New York to explain himself to the UN, and like Borat before him, finds himself stunned in various ways by the strange and exotic world of New York City hotels. $20 a day for Wi-Fi? And they call me an international criminal. But the general's duplicitous brother, played by Ben Kingsley, turns out to have a treasonous plan in mind, and Aladdin finds himself anonymous and penniless on the Manhattan streets and becomes dependent on the charity of a feminist vegetarian cafe manager, played by Anna Faris, who comes to his rescue like Jamie Lee Curtis with Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places. Subtle, it isn't. The satirical content is far lower than in Borat, apart from one Michael Moore-ish speech at the end, in which Aladdin begs America to become a dictatorship, and in laying out the advantages, inadvertently reveals that this would involve no changes at all. But basically, this is a firework display of bad taste, calculated to be as silly as possible. I laughed a lot when Faris's character uncovers Aladdin's vulnerable side and the awful truth that his political aggression stems from the fact that he has never masturbated. Learning how to do this in the cafe's unisex toilet with montages of soaring eagles and leaping dolphins is a spiritual epiphany. There is some great material in the time-honored movie tradition of people in a tight spot making up false names from signs that they just happen to see. It is gasp-inducingly offensive when the general plays his terrorist Wii in the palace and selects a game called Munich Olympics. We hear screams of Meshugana. Inevitably, Aladdin later explains, sentimentally, how living in New York has taught him to love Yiddish because the words sound like what they mean. It is relentlessly immature, and I was often reminded of the cheerfully reprehensible Kentucky Fried Movie in the 70s, a film unashamedly low in nutritional value. But it was very funny, and so is this. The Dictator isn't going to win awards, and it isn't as hip as Borat. Big, goofy, outrageous laughs is what it has to offer. Anyone can be offensive. The skill comes with trying to get people to laugh at it. Sacha Baron Cohen, the mind behind the semi-scripted comedies Borat and Bruno, has shown a great skill at getting audiences to laugh at light comic fodder like incest, rape, anti-Semitism, screaming dickholes, and carrying bags of shit to the dinner table. He also tends to throw in a little social criticism for some spice. The Dictator marks his first feature-length, fully scripted film, and while the blade may be a bit more polished, the edge remains razor-sharp. Despite a slapdash plot and a cop-out ending, The Dictator is brilliantly irreverent, juvenile, cartoonish, and it will have you laughing, feeling guilty about laughing, and then laughing even harder. Admiral General Aladdin Cohen, Dictator of the Republic of Wadia, spends most of his days doing all the things that make a dictator generally despised throughout the world. Developing weapons of mass destruction, crushing free speech, capriciously ordering executions, etc. However, he adheres to the last request of his father and refuses to open up his country's oil fields to outside companies, much to the chagrin of his advisor, Tamir, Ben Kingsley. When Aladdin goes to New York City to make an inflammatory speech to the United Nations, Tamir tries to have Aladdin secretly killed and replaced with a double. By sheer dumb luck, Aladdin escapes, but without his trademark beard and no other identification. So he's left powerless, and wondering how he'll regain his throne before the double can turn Wadia into a dreaded democracy, which would allow Tamir to profit from selling the oil fields. Aladdin begins looking for a replacement beard and starts working for an independent organic health food store so he can gain access to the signing ceremony, but he starts to fall for the store's liberal, vegan, feminist owner, Zoe, Anna Faris, who doesn't recognize the tyrannical Wadian leader without his facial hair. Cohen's previous comic efforts stand out because not everyone in the film is in on the joke. We suspend our disbelief not only by accepting the character and the premise, but we also stare in astonishment at the unwitting participants who echo the dubious virtues of Cohen's fictional characters. The Dictator removes the distraction of trying to figure out who's being conned and gives Cohen a comic diversity he hasn't had in his previous films. The offensive humor is still the baseline, but he now has more ways to pull it off. Aladdin can still make a joke about sexually traumatizing the boys of Menudo, but now that kind of joke can lead to a delightful banter between Cohen and co-star Jason Mantzoukas, who plays a refugee Wadian nuclear scientist who decides to help his leader. The script also allows the film to be at turns cartoony, witty, weird, and satirical, and Cohen and director Larry Charles no longer have to cater to the mockumentary form. They can still make insane, gross-out gags, and audiences can decide if they find the Dictator's special effects setups more repulsive than the horrifically and hilariously real naked wrestling fight between Cohen and Ken Division in Borat. In many ways, The Dictator is Borat in better clothes. Both movies feature protagonists who come from third-world countries. The fictional Wadia is in North Africa, and their environment has led to the characters holding backwards deeply offensive values. However, both characters are, theoretically, excused because they come from a place of ignorance, and ultimately Borat and Aladdin just wanted to be loved. These attempts at redemption are fascinating because they play to our desire to not feel absolutely rotten after having laughed at jokes involving pedophilia and 9/11. If we can forgive Borat and Aladdin, we can try to forgive ourselves. But should we forgive Cohen's creations? We can accept a happy ending for Borat since his stupidity is accompanied by humility. For Borat, a character who's proud of his VCR, it's completely natural for his poor village to have a town rapist, as if it were a positive contribution to any community. But Aladdin is the rapist. He operates from the same place of supreme ignorance crafted by cultural circumstances, but he's still a murderous, power-mad, despicable human being. And yet, like he's done in his previous films, Cohen is really shining a light on our beliefs. Borat goes the direct route by having its eponymous character interview unwitting subjects and having those subjects speak to the American character. The Dictator has to put that social critique in the subtext by trying to remind us how we desensitize ourselves to horrible leaders by paying attention to their eccentricities. The movie opens with a dedication to the recently deceased North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il. Jong-il was a brutal tyrant, but we laughed him off because he never managed to hurt any nation other than his own, and he looked funny. The Dictator simply exaggerates an absurdity we've already accepted, and since we all don't work for Amnesty International, why should we draw the line at the crimes of a fictional character? Because everything is tightly scripted and there's no comic burden on unsuspecting subjects, the Dictator comes off as almost aggressively offensive. However, the ease and confidence of the jokes rarely call attention to the content. If anything, the movie constantly highlights how desensitized we've become to things that should cause offense. If Steven Spielberg can use the massacre of Israeli athletes at the 1972 Munich Olympics as Oscar bait, then why can't Cohen and Co. use it as material for Aladdin's personalized Nintendo Wii game? One can argue that Spielberg is being more respectful, but he's still moving a tragedy through the same studio mechanism as The Dictator. At least Cohen's film is more entertaining. Strangely, for all the jokes made at the expense of minorities and tragedies, The Dictator has a glass jaw. The ending fails to reconcile the monstrous acts of Aladdin with his newfound humility. The film ends up torn between the brilliant dark comedy of the previous 75 minutes and trying to leave audiences on an uplifting note. Cohen never wants us to feel conflicted about Aladdin, and his performance goes a long way in helping us feel sympathy towards the character. However, Cohen is incredibly reluctant in having Aladdin grow because doing so would fundamentally change what makes the character absurd. If Aladdin becomes kind and understanding and sheds off his authoritarian ways, then he's not funny anymore. It's bizarre that the movie can be a crowd pleaser by making jokes about rape centers, but it's too timid to buck the convention of a transformative arc. As long as it stays away from timid compromise, The Dictator is a deliciously bad-taste comedy. I saw the film almost a week ago, and I'm still chuckling when I think back on some of the jokes. Shock value dissipates quickly, but The Dictator never uses offense as an end unto itself. It's always used in the service of gross-out humor, playful banter, cartoony situations, and joyous absurdity. The material may be offensive, but viewers can't feel too offended when they're laughing so damn hard. Bruno posed a number of problems for the outrageous comic. First, it left many feeling that Baron Cohen's pranks had gone too far, shifting from the gotcha satire of Borat to downright mean attacks on good old boy Americans. It also exhausted the last of Baron Cohen's 3 characters from Da Ali G Show, suggesting that wherever he went next, it would mean having to create a character from scratch. And so Aladdin was born, his full Osama bin Laden-style beard already in place, the heir to the bloodthirsty, oil-drunk North African nation of Wadiya. Rather than challenging audience prejudices, Baron Cohen exploits them by presenting this ruthless world leader as an object of scorn and ridicule, the easiest of targets. Aladdin makes up the rules as he goes, rigging Wadiya's Olympics, Golden Globes, and other major events in his favor, while calling for the beheading of anyone who opposes him. When Lewis Carroll's Queen of Hearts called "off with their heads," the satire reflected back on the English monarchy, but in Aladdin's case, it's a bad taste reminder of the merciless way Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, and Kim Jong-il dealt with dissidents. The film is dedicated to the memory of the late North Korean despot. Despite his many crimes against humanity, Aladdin is despised by no one more than Wadiya's rightful heir, Tamir, Ben Kingsley, who first plots the Supreme Leader's assassination, then shifts to the more elaborate plan of luring him to New York and replacing him with a dim-witted body double, Effawad, also Baron Cohen. Reunited with his Hugo co-star, Kingsley gives a surprisingly understated performance, while clearly savoring the chance to play the anti-Gandhi. When Tamir's plan fails, leaving his rival clean-shaven but alive, the film shifts from over-the-top caricature to fish-out-of-water comedy, following Aladdin as he befriends an ultra-liberal American activist, Anna Faris, and discovers his place in the capitalist system. An unexpectedly poignant earlier scene, the closest the film gets to Charlie Chaplin as Hitler tenderly wooing a giant inflatable globe in The Great Dictator, finds Aladdin standing unfulfilled before a wall of Polaroids depicting his many celebrity conquests. All he wants is someone to cuddle with. And so we are to believe that love with the unlikeliest of American women can turn the heart of a ruthless but ultimately harmless tyrant. It worked for Eddie Murphy in Coming to America, though his anti-misogynist African prince arrived in search of a soulmate. In this case, Faris has been transformed into an androgynous-looking feminist with hairy armpits and hidden breasts, a stark contrast with the virgins who serve as one of the job's biggest perks back home. No joke in The Dictator is funnier than the spontaneous one-liner Baron Cohen uttered after spilling an urn of ashes on Ryan Seacrest at the Academy Awards. "If someone asks what you are wearing, tell them Kim Jong-il." Between this and the infantile Ali G Indahouse, 2002, it's clear the star is most amusing when allowed to go off script. In several cases, scenes attempt to recreate the effect of putting Aladdin in front of an unsuspecting room, as when his body double addresses the United Nations. But the effect feels forced when hired actors do the reacting. Of course, working with a more conventional script has its perks. Rather than orchestrating potentially embarrassing encounters with hidden cameras, director Larry Charles, who helmed Borat and Bruno and may also have inspired Aladdin's unruly beard, has a normal crew at his disposal, turning his attention to such detail-oriented touches as Aladdin's ornate uniform and palace. If The Dictator were opening in the imaginary Wadiya, one could chalk up the film's barely feature-length running time to the local censors. But it's troubling to think only 75 minutes of sufficiently funny material made the cut. Working with his usual co-scribes, Baron Cohen must have been writing and rewriting right up until the end, as many of the funniest lines have been looped, delivered when the characters' mouths are off camera. For instance, when Aladdin decrees America built by the blacks, owned by the Chinese, his insult plays over a shot of the New York skyline. Typically, political correctness couldn't be farther from the filmmaker's mind, and yet what the pic most sorely lacks is the sort of humanist appeal Chaplin delivered at the close of The Great Dictator. Baron Cohen may be ballsy, but he doesn't have the nerve to make that kind of statement. That said, his climactic speech on the lessons democracy could learn from despotism all but forgives the clumsy plotting that comes before. So sometime his appearance made people surprised or confused. The publicity team had to manage all this and keep the message positive. They worked hard to make sure that the funny spirit of the movie stayed clear and that everyone knew it was all in good fun. In the end, publicity played a huge role in making The Dictator a movie many people heard about and to watch. Thanks to the clever and funny ways the publicity team shared news and organized events, the movie became popular all over the world. Without publicity, many people might not have known about this funny story, and fewer people would have gone to see it. The work of the publicity team is like being a storyteller who makes sure the whole town knows about the exciting new play coming to the theater. They helped turn The Dictator into a movie that was talked about everywhere and brought lots of laughs to audiences. Publicity may happen behind the scenes, but its magic can be seen on the big screen when the theater fills with happy viewers. Music is like magic in the movies. It helps tell the story without words by using sounds and melodies that make us feel happy, sad, excited, or even scared. In The Dictator, the music played a very important role in making the movie more fun and interesting. When General Aladdin, the main character, walked into a room or did something funny or dramatic, the music would change to match his actions. Sometimes the music was loud and fast to show excitement, and other times it was soft and slow to show something serious or emotional. This helped the audience understand the feelings of the characters and made watching the movie much more exciting. The people who made the music for The Dictator had to work very carefully. They listened to the movie many times to find the perfect moments to add music. They created special songs and sounds that matched the funny and crazy style of the film. Because the movie is a comedy, the music often had a playful and silly tone to help make the jokes even funnier. For example, when something unexpected happened or when General Aladdin acted in a silly way, the music helped show that this was a joke and made the audience laugh even more. The music was like a friend cheering on the character and making sure everyone had a good time. Making music for a movie like The Dictator was not always easy. One challenge was to balance the music so it didn't take over the actors' voices or the important sounds in each scene. If the music was too loud, people might not hear the jokes or the story clearly. Also, because the movie had different settings from a fancy palace to busy city streets, the music had to change styles to fit each place. The music team had to create sounds that felt royal and grand for the palace, but also busy city streets. The music had to change styles to fit each place. The music team had to create sounds that felt royal and grand for the palace, but also busy and lively for the city. Sometimes they even missed different types of music to keep the movies interesting and surprising. It took a lot of practice and creativity to get the music just right. In the end, the music in The Dictator helped make the movie special and memorable. It brought energy and emotion to the story, helping the audience feel that what the characters were feeling. Music is a secret helper in movies that can make panty parts funnier and serious verse more touching. Thanks to the music team, every scene in The Dictator had the perfect sound to match what was happening on screen. Their work was like painting the movie with sounds and rhythms that made watching the story more exciting and fun for everyone. So, next time you watch a movie, listen carefully to the music. It's telling you a story too. When we talk about the reception of a movie like Dictator, we mean how people reacted after watching it. Reception is like the big open opinion party that happens once the movie is out in theaters. Some people really liked the movie and laughed a lot because it was very funny and silly. They enjoyed the crazy adventures of General Aladdin and thought that its jokes were clever. These viewers told their friends and family about the movie and said it was a good time. Other people thought the movie was too wild or a little bit strange because it made fun of serious topics like dictators and politics. So reception means how different people felt and what they said about the movie after seeing it. Many movie critics, people who watch movies carefully and write about them, give mixed opinions about The Dictator. Some critics praise Sacha Baron Cohen for his funny and bold acting, saying he was very brave to play such a silly character. They also liked the way the movie made people laugh while talking about important ideas like freedom and power. But some critics thought the movie was too crazy and didn't like some jokes that seemed a little mean or confusing. Because comedy is about making people laugh. It's normal that not everyone enjoys the same kind of humor. This mixed reception shows that while many had fun, others found the movie difficult to understand or not to their taste. The audience's reaction, that means regular people who want to watch the movie, was mostly positive. Many people found the movie entertaining and enjoyed the funny moments, especially fans of such a Baron Cohen style. They liked the silly situations and thought the character of General Aladdin was funny and unique. However, some viewers felt the movie was too silly or that some jokes were too much. But overall, the movie was successful enough to be remembered as a bold and funny comedy. The reception from the audience is important because it shows how well the movie connects with the real people, not just critics. Reception is very important for a movie because it helps others decide whether to watch it or not. When a movie gets good reception, more people want to see it and it can become popular all over the world. When the reception is mixed, like with The Dictator, it means the movie is special in its own way and may be loved by some and not by others. This is okay because every movie is different and tells a different kind of story. The reception teaches filmmakers what people like or don't like, so they can make even better movies in the future. For The Dictator, the reception showed that funny movies can make people think too, and that laughter sometimes comes with a little bit of challenge. In a movie like The Dictator, controversies sometimes happen. A controversy means when something causes people to strongly disagree or get upset. This movie had a lot of funny scenes, but some of the jokes were about serious topics like dictators, wars, and world leaders. Some people don't like the things were made into jokes. They felt the movie was being too silly or disrespectful about real-life problems. Others thought the movie was just being funny and trying to make people think while they laughed. These different opinions created big conversations in the news and on social media. The controversies. Controversies didn't stop people from watching the movie, but they did make some people argue about whether it was okay to laugh at serious topics. One of the biggest controversies was about how the movie showed a pretend dictator named General Aladdin, who acted like some real dictators from history. His clothes, his speeches, and even his role in the movie were similar to real-life leaders who were known for being strict and unfair. Some people thought this was very funny and clever, while others thought it was not polite to make fun of real people and their countries. Because of this, some places in the world didn't want the movie to be shown in theaters. A few countries even banned the movie, which means they didn't let people see it at all. This made the movie more famous because people became curious about why it was banned. Another controversy happened when the main character Sacha Baron Cohen appeared at big events dressed as General Aladdin. He went to award shows and even interviews wearing his costume and pretending to be their character. Some people laughed and enjoyed it, but others felt confused or uncomfortable. At one event, he poured ashes on a red carpet as a joke, and many people thought that was too much. The silly acts got a lot of attention in the news and added to the controversies around the movie. But Sacha Baron Cohen said he was just trying to make people laugh and think about important things in a funny way. Still, some people didn't find it funny and thought it was going too far. In the end, the controversies made The Dictator made more talked about, which helped more people learn about the movie. Even though some people were upset, others were curious and wanted to see what the movie was about. Controversies can sometimes help a movie become more famous, even if it gets both good and bad attention. They show that movies can start big conversations and make people think differently. For kids, it's important to know that not everyone sees things the same way, and that's okay. The Dictator used the comedy to talk about big topics, and while some laughed, others didn't. And that's what made it so interesting and unforgettable. In the movie The Dictator, some people felt that it made fun of certain groups unfairly. These feelings led to something called alist Islamophobia and anti-Arabism. These are big words, but let's understand them in an easy way. Islamophobia means being unfair or afraid of Muslims, and anti-Arabism means being negative toward Arab people. Some people who watched the movie thought that the jokes were too focused on these groups. The main character, General Aladdin, is a fake dictator from a made-up country, but he dresses and speaks in a way that reminded some people of real Arab leaders or Muslims. This made some people upset because they felt the movie was making fun of a whole culture, not just a character. The people who made the movie said it was not meant to hurt anyone. They said it was just a silly comedy, and the character of General Aladdin was not meant to make fun of all kinds of unfair rulers, but just from one religion or one part of the world. They explained that the movie was trying to show how silly and wrong dictators can be. Not to say bad things about any group or people. But even though that was the goal, some viewers still felt uncomfortable because they thought the jokes were not respectful. When comedy talks about serious topics, people can feel very differently about it. And that's why this part of the movie caused many debates. It's important to understand that movies, especially comedies, sometimes use exaggerations to make people laugh. But when those jokes touch real culture or religions, it can hurt feelings without meaning to. In The Dictator, some clothes, words, and music were used in a way that made it look like the character was Muslim or Arab, even though the story was about a fictional country. That's why some people said the movie showed Islamophobia or anti-Arabism, even if that wasn't the plan. The filmmakers had to think deeply about whether they had crossed a line. Even though their goal was just to tell a funny story, it's a reminder that humor must also be kind and respectful. In the end, this part of the movie's controversy helped teach the important lesson that comedy is powerful and should be handled carefully, especially when talking about real-life cultures, religions, or people. Many viewers enjoyed the movie and loved a lot, but others felt that the jokes were not fair to everyone. That's why the discussion about Islamophobia and anti-Arabism become part of the movie history. It's okay to have different opinions about movies. What matters most is to learn from them and to always try to treat all people and cultures with kindness and respect, even when telling a joke or making a funny movie. In the movie, the Dictator, the main character, is played by the famous actor Sacha Baron Cohen. He plays a very funny and over-the-top leader named Admiral General Hafez Aladdin. He is not just the general, he is also the prime minister of a made-up country called Warrior. Sacha also plays a second secret character, Ifado Aladdin's foolish double who replaces him at one point. He even disguised himself as a woman named Alison Bar Burgess for a brief moment, showing how silly and creative the movie is. Sacha Baron Cohen's biggest contribution to the Mo film is how he brings the crazy and funny world of Aladdin to life. He uses his brilliant talent for comedy to show how strange and dangerous a selfish dictator can be while still making the audience laugh a lot. He created the character to make people think about real-world problems in a funny and exaggerated way. His character is a mix of many real-life dictators. But instead of being scary, he is shown in a way that teaches a lesson through humor. Sacha Baron Cohen gives a very bold and brave performance in The Dictator. He speaks in a made-up accent, wears colorful and shiny costumes, and acts in a way that makes people laugh while also thinking about serious things. He uses jokes, silly faces, and strange behavior to show how ridiculous a person with too much power can become. One moment he's giving silly comments to his guards, and the next moment he is trying to live a normal life in America. Sacha switches between emotions quickly, being angry, sad, silly, and smart, all within a few minutes. His double role as F-Wad is especially funny because F-Wad is not smart at all and is always doing something ridiculous. Even though it's a comedy, Sacha puts a lot of hard work into making the character feel real in a cartoonish way. His performance helps people understand how dangerous it is when leaders don't listen to others, and how power can make people act foolish. Without such amazing acting, the movie wouldn't be as funny or meaningful. In the story, General Aladdin faces many big problems that he never expected. At the beginning, he lives like a king and thinks that he is the greatest person in the world. Everyone around him is scared of him and does whatever he says. But when he travels to the New York City to speak at the United Nations, his uncle betrays his uncle Tamir wants to take over. So he hires someone to kidnap Aladdin and puts his silly look alike. If in his place, Aladdin loses everything, his title, his beard, and his power. Nobody believes he is the real Aladdin. He becomes homeless, has to work in a store, and live like a regular person. This is a big challenge for him because he doesn't know how to do everything by himself. He struggles to fit into this new life. But these problems help him learn and grow. He also has to stop his uncle's evil plan to turn warrior into a democracy just so he can sell the country to make money. Aladdin's mission becomes to save his country, get his power back, and do something right for once. By the end of the movie, Sacha Baron Cohen's character Aladdin has sensed a lot. Though he is still a little silly and proud, he gives a very funny but clever speech that sounds like he is making fun of democracy, but really he's showing how a real dictatorship works. Through all the funny scenes and strange adventures, his character learns a little bit about love, honesty, and being a better person. He falls in love with Joey, a kind woman who teaches him how to care for others. He starts to understand that ruling by fear is not the only way, and that sometimes kindness can be stronger than power. In the end, he becomes a mix of his old self and a new, slightly better person. He even marries Joey in a ceremony full of jokes and surprises. Sacha Baron Cohen's overall contribution in the is very big. He gives us a movie that is both super funny and full of lessons about leadership, freedom, and change. His performance helps us to laugh, think, and remember that even the silliest people can become better if they are willing to learn. In the movie, the dictator Jason Monokas played a very funny and important character named Nuclear Nadal. He was one of the most interesting people in the story. Nadal used to be the chief scientist of General Aladdin's nuclear program, and he was very smart when it came to science and technology. But because of a silly mistake or disagreement, Aladdin thought he was trying to betray him and ordered that he be executed. However, Nadal didn't actually die. He survived and later became part of a group that wanted to fight back against a cruel dictatorship. When Aladdin and Nadal met again later in the movie, they had to work together. Even though they didn't trust each other much at first, this made their relationship full of jokes, arguments, and funny moments that kids and adults found hilarious. Jason Monjosi make his character very memorable with his strong and silly acting. He spoke in a funny voice, made crazy facial expressions and acted very fast and full of energy, which made every scene with him exciting and fun. He and Sacha Cohen, who played General Aladdin, had a great on-screen chemistry. They acted like two people who were always fighting but still needed each other. Natalavan made fun of Aladdin and told him how foolish he was, which added even more comedy to the film. Jason's performance gave the movie a lot of extra fun and laughter, even though he wasn't the main character. Many people remembered his role because he was so lively and surprising in every scene he appeared in. Playing the role of Nadal was not always easy for Jason M. Just the movie had lots of unusual scenes and wild jokes, and sometimes it could be uncomfortable or tricky to act them out. He had to wear strange costumes, talk in a fake accent, and do silly things on the camera, which could feel a little weird at times. Also, the character was part tech of a story that made fun of very serious topics like war, power, and dictators. So Jason had to be careful with his acting. He needed to be funny, but not mean, silly, but still clever. It was a big challenge, but he did a great job making people laugh while also helping the story move forward. His ability to balance comedy with some serious moments showed how talented he is. In the end, Jason Manjaw's contribution as Nuclear Now was one of the reasons why The Dictator became such a funny and unforgettable movie. He brought a lot of humor, energy, and cleverness to the film. His character helped show these and other that even in a story full of jokes, there could be moments of teamwork, courage, and friendship. Many fans of the movie still talk about Nadal's crazy inventions, smart remarks, and funny arguments. With Aladdin, Jason's performance was a perfect match for the wild world of films. And without him, the movie wouldn't have been as colorful and hilarious. His work shows that how even side characters can shine and make a big impact in a comedy. In the movie, the dictator Anna Faris played a very important and kind character named Joey. She is very different from General Aladdin, the main character. While he is a rich and powerful dictator who only cares about himself, Joey is a sweet, helpful, and brave woman who works hard to make the world a better place. She runs a small, friendly store in New York City that gives food and support to the people who don't have much money. She believes in equality, love, peace, and helping others no matter who they are. Her biggest contribution in the movie is being the person who helps General Aladdin change his selfish voice. Even though she doesn't know his true identity at first, she helps him find a job, gives him a place to stay, and teaches him about real life. She becomes his guide, his friend, and later his love. Without Joey, Aladdin would never learn about being kind, honest, and good. Anna Faris gives a lovely and warm performance as Zoe. She makes the character feel real and lovable. Joey is full of energy, and even when things are difficult, she keeps a smile on her face. Anna shows that Joey is strong, smart, and always ready to help people, even strangers. Her voice, her expressions, and the way she moves all the help to show that Joey is caring and open-hearted. She's also very funny in a natural way. When she talks to Aladdin, she doesn't know he is a dictator. So their conversation are full of silly and awkward moments. She tries to teach him how to live like a normal person, and her reactions to his rude and or strange behavior are hilarious. Even though the movie is full of wild jokes, Hanafi's never forgets to show Joy's gentle heart and her belief in goodness. Her performance is like a bright light in the middle of all the comedy cows. And she helps balance the movie's silly moments with real emotion. Even though Zoe is kind and strong, she also has problems in the movie. Her store is not doing well, and she works very hard every day just to keep it open. She tries to help so many people, but she doesn't have enough money or workers to do everything alone. Sometimes she gets stressed and worried because things don't always do go right. Another big problem Joy faces is trusting Aladdin. She doesn't know who he really is, and when he acts rude or strange, she has to decide whether to help him or not. She also wants to believe in good peoples, but she has been hurt before, so she is careful. Later in the movie, when she finds out the truth about Aladdin's real identity, she feels shocked and betrayed. It is not easy for her to forgive him, but Joy's big heart helps her see that Kaladin has changed a little and that maybe he is becoming a better person because of what he learned from her. Her problems make her stronger, and Slow show how brave and patient she really is. At the end of the movie, Joey becomes one of the most important people in Aladdin's life. She helps him stop the bad plans of his uncle and teaches him to be more caring and fair. Even though Aladdin is still a little selfish and silly, Joey helps him open his heart and understand love. The relationship shows us that when people from very different worlds meet, they can still learn from each other. Joey doesn't change who she is. She stays kind, honest, and helpful, but she helps Aladdin become better, that he is her biggest and most beautiful contribution. Anna Faris's character teaches kids and grown-ups alike that being good, doing the right thing, and believing in people can really make a difference. In the final scene, Joey and Aladdin get married, and although it's a funny wedding with lots of jokes, it also shows that love can bring even the strangest people together. Joy's story is a lesson in kindness, strength, and hope, and Anna Faris makes it unforgettable with her heartwarming performance. In the movie, The Dictator, the character Tamid Mafrad is played by the famous actor Ben Kingsley. Tamid is the uncle of General Aladdin, the silly and powerful dictator of the fictional country called Warrior. Tammy seems like a helpful and loyal man at first, but actually he is very tricky and sneaky. He secretly wants to take power away from Aladdin and turn Warrior into a democracy, but not for the good of the people. He wants to make lots of money by selling wars while and doing business with other countries. So he tries to get rid of Aladdin by replacing him with a look-alike, a double who will say yes to everything Tamir wants. This plan makes the story of the movie more exciting and funny because it causes all kinds of silly problems and twists. Ben King plays the role of Tamir very seriously, which made the funny parts of the movie even funnier. He acted calm and wise like a quite old man who can be trusted, but secretly he was planning something evil. See his serious voice. And voice made the character more believable as someone who could really trick people. Even though the movie is full of silly jokes, Kingsley's acting helped balance the story by making Tamir seem like a real threat to Aladdin. This made the movie not just funny, but also interesting, because this was the real danger. Ben Kingsley is known for acting in serious movies too, so seeing him in a comedy was something new and special for many viewers. He showed that even a silly movie, good acting makes the story stronger. While playing Tamir, Ben Kingsley did face some challenges. One big challenge was keeping his character serious in a movie that was full of crazy jokes and wild scenes. He had to stay calm and collected, even when the big scenes around him were full of cows, jokes, and loud actions. It's not always easy to act in a comedy without laughing or getting distracted, but Ben King did it perfectly. He also had to act as someone who was very different from most of his past roles, because Tamir was not a kind man. He was greedy, clever, and full of secret plans. So Kingsley had to show all of that, draw his face and in quiet behavior. It takes a lot of skill to act like a bad guy, without shouting or fighting. And Kingsley did it in a calm, smooth way. Ben Kingsley's performance as Tamir Mafra added a lot of meaning to the dictator. His character helped show the problems of great and power in the world, but in a way that matched the movie's silly and punny style. Without Tammy, there would be no big reason for Aladdin to go through all the funny troubles he faced. Tammy's role was very important to the story. Ben Kingsley's calm and serious acting made the movie stronger and helped balance the crazy comedy with smart storytelling. Many people who watched the movie remembered him because of how well he played the clever uncle who tried to take over everything. His performance proved that even in funny movies, good acting can make the story much better and more exciting. In the movie The Dictator, the character Clayton, played by John C., really may only appear for a short time, but his role is very important to the story, even though his name is not listed in the main credits. This is called being uncredited. He plays a surprising and serious part in the early part of the movie. Clayton is a raw, rough and tough American man who works as a security guard or torturer in a secret part of New York City. His job is to get information from people, and he is known for being scary and intense. When General Aladdin comes to America, Clayton is hired by Aladdin's evil Uncle Tammy to kidnap Aladdin and get rid of him, so that a fake double can take over the country of Warrior. Clayton's role is short but powerful, and it helps move the story in a new direction. Without Clayton's actions, Aladdin would not lose his beard, his identity, and his royal status, which are all important to the rest of the story. John C. really is a famous actor who usually plays funny and friendly characters, but in this movie he plays someone very different as Clayton. He is loud, rude, and mean, but also very funny in a wild and crazy way. When he first meets Aladdin, he tries to act tough and serious. He shouts, talks in a rough voice, and shows that he is not afraid of anyone. But the scene is made in a way that it's more funny than scary. For example, Clayton uses funny toes and makes silly threats while trying to hurt Aladdin, which ends up being more humorous than harmful. Really, performance adds a mix of danger and comedy that makes the scene memorable. Even though he is only a screen-on-screen for a short time, he makes a strong impression. He plays the kind of bad guy who is so over the top that kids can tell it's just a joke, not something to be afraid of. His performance fits the movie's silly and exaggerated tone perfectly. Clayton may seem like he is in control at first, but things don't go as planned. He faces a big problem during his mission to torture and get rid of Aladdin. Instead of being scared or quiet, Aladdin starts making jokes, talking back and acting silly. This confuses and annoys Clayton. Aladdin is supposed to be the one in danger, but his strange and fearless behavior makes it hard for Clayton to do his job. Then something very important happens. Aladdin escapes. Leon is not able to finish what he was hired to do. This is a big failure for him, and it causes cows later in the story because Aladdin escapes. He goes on to leave in secret, meets Joey, and tries to take back his country. So even though Clayton tries to be the one who stops Aladdin, his failure actually helps the hero start his journey. In a way, Clayton's mistakes becomes the turning point of the whole movie. Even though John Sir really role as Clayton is small and not listed in the main cast, his character plays an important part in the plot. He is the one who causes the big change in Aladdin's life. After Clayton kidnaps him and shapes off his famous bird, no one knows who Aladdin is anymore. This sets off the funny and wild adventure that follows John C. Will's performance shows that even small characters in a movie can make a big difference. His role adds excitement, laughter, and helps move the story forward in a fun and unexpected way. Keeps watching the movie will remember the scene because it's full of loud noises, funny faces, and strange rules, all delivered from John C's special style of comedy. In the end, Gladon may have failed in this mission, but his actions helped start the adventure that changed Aladdin forever. That's what makes his contribution so important, even if it only lasted a few minutes. In the Dictator, Bobby Lee played a small but memorable character named Mr. Lau. Even though his screen time was not very long, his character had a very strange and funny moment in the story. Mr. Lau is a worker in the United States who ends up being part of a very silly scene with General Aladdin. Mr. Lau learns a kind of shop, and in that scene, Aladdin tries to earn money by working with him. This leads to one of the movie's weirdest and most shocking jokes, which made some people laugh while making others uncomfortable. Bobby Lee's character was there to add another layer of surprise and wild comedy to the movie, even in just a few minutes. Mr. Lau's role helped keep the story unpredictable and outrageous, just like the rest of the movie. Bobby Lee is known for his funny and bold acting, and in The Dictator, he used the skills to bring Mr. Lauer to life in a hilarious but shocking way. Was not afraid to do something completely silly or even gross, because that's what his scene needed. Bobby is very good at using his facial expressions and timing to make people laugh, and in this movie he used those skills perfectly in the short time he had on screen. Even though his role was not big, many people remembered it because it was so surprising and different. Comedy sometimes needs actors who can make a strong impression very quickly, and Bobby Lee definitely did that. His performance gave the movie one of its most over-the-top and unforgettable moments. However, acting in such a wild and strange scene was not easy. Bobby Lee had to be very brave because not every actor would be comfortable doing something so outrageous on camera. There was also the challenge of making it funny and not too offensive, especially since the scene was written to be very bold and edgy. Bobby had to trust the director, the script, and his own skills to make sure the jokes worked and didn't just shock people without making them laugh. It can be hard to do comedy that is both wild and smart, and Bobby Lee worked that fine line. Being a comedian, he was used to taking risks, and this role was definitely one of those big risks that only a fearless performer like him could handle. In the end, Bobby Lee's contribution as Mr. Lauer through those small helped the movie stay unpredictable and full of crazy energy. His scene reminded viewers that The Dictator was not a normal comedy. It was a film that wanted to surprise the audience at every turn. Bobby's fearless attitude and strong comedic style helped make his role stand out even in a short appearance. He showed that even a minor character can leave a big impression if the actor puts in full energy and creativity. His work in the movie added one more layer to its wild humor and proved that good comedy often comes from people who are willing to take bold chances and make people laugh in the most unexpected way. In the movie, The Dictator actor Sacha plays Omar Aladdin, who is the father of General Hafiz Aladdin, the main character played by Sacha Baron Cohen. Omar Aladdin was the previous ruler or dictator of the made-up country called Via. He was the one who ruled the nation before his son took over, and he is said to have been just as strict, powerful, and feared as his son is. Even though Omar Aladdin does not appear much in the movie, his presence is important because it helps us understand how Hafiz Aladdin become the way he is. In the film, it is said that Omar was also a strong and ruthless leader who built the country under military rule. His influence shaped Hafiz into becoming the same kind of ruler, controlling, proud, and unwilling to accept democracy. Omar's legacy plays a big role in the story, even if he is mostly shown in pictures, short clips, or memories. Saad Pedra's portrayal of Omar Aladdin adds depth to the story by giving the audience a look at the past of war and how its leadership has been passed from one dictator to another. Omar Aladdin is the reason Ahab believes that being a strong and fair ruler is the right way to lead. We learn that Omar trained his son to follow in his footsteps. This makes the audience understand that Hafiz's actions are not just random. He has followed the example of the man who raised him. The movie uses his backstory to show how dangerous it can be when power is handed down without change. Even though Omar is no longer alive during most of the movie, the country of war still runs with the rules and habits he created. His contribution to the film is not through action scenes, but through his powerful presence in the history and personality of the main character. Omar represents the old way that must be questioned or changed if war is meant to become a better place. Although the movie does not show many scenes of Omar Aladdin's rule, we can understand from the story that he faced many of the same challenges that dictators often deal with, like keeping control of the people, dealing with international pressure, and managing power through affair. Ruling a country without freedom or democracy is never easy, and Omar would have had to use force tricks and strict rules to stay in that power. One major challenge for Omar would have been making sure that his son, Hafiz, was ready to take over. As a father, he might have felt pressure to pass down his power to someone who would continue his legacy. But this also meant that he gave Huff no chance to learn kindness, fairness, or honesty. Omar may have thought he was protecting the country, but he was also creating a new dictator just like himself. The film doesn't show all these moments directly, but we can guess from the way Haz behaves, and Omar's rule was full of control and fair, and that caused many problems for the country later on side. Gives a strong and serious performance, even though his role is small and mostly seen through old photographs or short flashbacks. He plays Omar with a powerful look, showing a proud and strict father whose presence is still felt long after he is gone. His face, his voice, and the way he is remembered in the film all help the audience feel the weight of his role. Pedra's acting shows that Omar was not a funny or silly man like Huff sometimes is, but a more serious figure who taught his son to rule with an iron fist. His performance helped build a world of warrior, making it feel like a real place with a history of dictatorship. In the end, Omar Al-Adin's greatest impact on the movie is that he represents the past, a past that must be challenged and changed in if warrior is ever to move forward. He may not be on screen for long, but his legacy lives through Abba's action, making Cedra's role very important to the story. In the movie, the dictator Adil Akar played the role of Maros, a kind and helpful man who becomes the friend of General Al-Adin after he loses his power and identity. When Al-Adin finds himself lost and alone in New York City, Marouche is one of the people who tries to support him. Marouche is shown working in a small shop where other people from Aya also gather. Even though he used to live in Al-Adin's country, he does not hate him. Instead, Marouche offers him food and kindness. Even though he knows Al-Adin was once a cruel dictator, this part of the movie shows that even people who suffer can sometimes choose forgiveness over anger. Maru helps Al-Adin survive during the time when he's trying to take back control of his life. So his role is small but meaningful. Adil Akhtar acted very well in the role of Marouche. He made his character look simple, kind, and realistic. His calm voice and friendly face helped the audience feel like Marouche was someone who they could trust. Even though the movie is full of big jokes and love scenes, Adi's acting was soft and peaceful, which made his character stand out in a different way. He brought balance to the movie by showing a quieter, more human side of the story. In a world full of silly cows and powerful, hungry leaders, Maru's character was a symbol of normal people who still believed in helping others. Adil Akar's performance made this character feel warm and lovable, and his presence helped the audience see that kindness still exists, even if the funny and crazy stories. But playing Marouche also came with some challenges. In a movie that was full of jokes, loud characters, and wild situations, it's not easy to play simple and nice man without being forgotten. Adil had to make sure his small role still felt important and memorable. He had to stand out with emotion and honesty, not just funny lines or costumes. Also, since the movie sometimes made the jokes about culture and politics, Adil had to be careful in how he performed, making sure he did not make fun of his own background or others unfairly. Being part of a comedy like The Dictator meant walking a careful line, being funny, respectful, and true to the message of peace and understanding. Adil did this very well, proving that quiet characters can still shine. Overall, Adil Akhtar's contribution to The Dictator as Marouche added heart to the movie. His character reminded everyone that not all people care about power or money. Some just want to live peacefully and help others. Even though Marouche didn't have a lot of screen time, he left a strong impact by being the calm in the storm. He was one of the few characters who didn't laugh loudly or shout or act silly, but he still made the story better with his kind eyes and a caring nature. Adi's performance made a people-made people. Smile in a soft way, and his role showed that not all heroes need to be loud or strong. Sometimes just being kind is enough. His work helped make the movie more complete with both comedy and a little bit of humanity. In the movie, the dictator Fred Armisen plays a small but funny role as a waiter who works in a restaurant called Death to Aladdin. This restaurant is very important because it shows how some people feel about General Aladdin. The main character, the restaurant's name itself is a joke, meaning down with Aladdin, or we want to get rid of Aladdin. Fred's character serves food and drinks to customers who are often talking badly about Aladdin or planning against him. Even though Fred's role is small and he doesn't say a lot, his presence adds a lot of humor to the movie. He helps create the atmosphere where shows the world outside of Aladdin's country and how different people see him. His contribution is making the restaurant scenes lively and funny, helping the audience understand that not everyone likes Aladdin and that there are many people who want to change. Fred Armisen is known for being a very funny actor and comedian, and he uses his special style to make the waiter act character interesting and entertaining. Even though the waiter doesn't have many lines, Fred makes his movements, facial expressions, and tone very memorable. Sometimes he looks bored or annoyed when some customers complain or shout, and other times he acts like he knows a secret but won't say it. This kind of silent comedy where actions and looks are more important than words is something Fred does very well. This is the way of acting adds the quiet humor that makes people laugh without needing big jokes or loud scenes. The waiter feels like a small but important part of the world around Aladdin, showing how ordinary people react to the crazy situations people happening in the movie. Though the waiter's role is small, he faces some funny problems in the movie. He has to deal with rude and angry customers who came to the Death to Aladdin restaurant. And sometimes there's customers argue loudly or behave strangely. This makes his job hard and tiring because he must stay calm and keep serving food without getting involved in the fights or complaints. Another problem is that the restaurant itself is full of tension, since it is a place where people express their dislike for Aladdin. The waiter has to work in this tense atmosphere, but also keep the mood light and funny for the audience. He doesn't get scared or upset, though instead he stays cool and keeps doing his job, which shows how patient and professional his character is. The small challenges help make the scenes funny and interesting to watch. Even though Fred Armisen's weather character is not one of the main roles, his part is important because it adds detail and fun to the movie's world. His quiet but funny presence helps balance the loud and wild moments with something more simple and relatable. Through his performance, Fred helps show how different people react to Aladdin. Some with fear, some with hate, some with humor. This weather represents the regular person who watches the strange things happening around them, but still goes on with their daily life. His contribution may seem small, but it makes the movie richer and more enjoyable. Fred Arm's skillful acting brings even the smallest character to life, making sure the movie is full of laughter from start to finish. In the movie, the dictator Edward Norton made a special appearance as himself, but he was not officially credited for this role. This means his name did not appear in the main list of actors, but he was still part of the movie in a fun and surprising way. Edward Norton is a very famous actor known for many serious and popular movies. In A Dictator, he showed up in a short scene where General Aladdin tries to get help from him. This cameo was meant to add a fun surprise for the audience because seeing a well-known actor playing himself in a comedy movie is unexpected and makes people laugh. Even though it was a small role, it gave the movie a little extra excitement and made the story more interesting. Edward Norton's performance in this cameo was simple but effective. Since he was playing himself, he didn't have to act like character with a long story or many emotions. Instead, he acted like the real Edward not might act if he made someone like General Aladdin. In real life, his calm and serious way of speaking made the scene very funny, because it was very different from the wild and crazy world around Aladdin. Edward's presence brought a sense of reality to the movie, mixing real-life celebrities with the silly fictional story. Even in a short time, his acting helped make the movie feel more playful and clear, giving fans a fun little moment to enjoy. One challenge Edward Norton might have faced was making a quick and clear impression in such a small scene. Cameos like this have only a few seconds or minutes on screen, so the actor must be very clear and memorable very fast. Edward had to use his voice, facial expressions, and body language to fit perfectly into the movie's crazy world without taking too much attention away from the main story. Another challenge was to keep the cameo light and funny, because sometimes actors can accidentally make the small roles seem too serious or out of place. But Edward managed to keep this but simple, friendly, and fun, which helped the scenes work well in the overall movie. In conclusion, Edward Norton's uncredited as himself in The Dictator was a small but special contribution to the movie. Even though it was brief, it added a touch of surprise and humor that fans enjoyed. His appearance mixed real world followed with the silly fictional story of General Aladdin, making the movie feel more creative and playful. Edward showed that even a very short role can be important when done with the right attitude and style. His cameo remains one of the fun little moments in The Dictator that people remember and talk about because it was unexpected and well done. In the movie, the dictator Adam Lear played a character called the Man in the Helicopter. Although this character appears only briefly, he plays an important role in some key action scenes. The Man in the Helicopter is part of the security or military team, working or to capture or protect important people in the story. His job involves flying a helicopter, which is a big and powerful machine that can move fast through the air and help with transportation or battles. In the film, the helicopter scenes add excitement and drama, showing how serious the chase or fight for control is. Even though he doesn't say much, Adam Lever's character helps make the scene more thrilling and believable by being the person in control of the helicopter. His contribution is mostly to create tension and action that help keeps the story moving. Adam Lever's performance as the Man in Helicopter is quiet and serious. Since his character doesn't have many lines or a big story, the acting comes through his body language and the way he looks focused and alert. When you watch the movie, you can see that he is fully concentrating on flying the helicopter and completing his mission. This shows that even small roles need good acting to feel real and believable. Adam makes sure his character fits into the fast-paced, crazy world of the dictator without distracting from the main story. His serious expression and confident handling of the helicopter add a touch of realism, making the funny and silly part around him feel even more contrasting and funny. Though the Man is the Helicopter is only a small part of the movie, there are still challenges tied to this role. Flying a helicopter, even in movies, is a big responsibility because it is linked to danger power and fast decision making. The character is involved in tense movements where the helicopter might be chasing someone, escaping from enemies, or protecting someone important. This means Adam's character has to stay calm, focused, and ready for anything, even when things around him are chaotic or crazy. From a storytelling point of view, the challenge is to make the audience believe that the helicopter is really important and dangerous, even if the character is silent. Adam's quiet but strong presence helps solve this challenge by showing someone who knows exactly what to do in a high-pressure situation. Although Adam Lever's Man in Helicopter is a small and mostly silent role, it adds an important layer to the movie. The dictator action scenes with helicopters create excitement and make the story feel more adventurous and real. Without characters like him, the scenes would feel empty or less believable. His calm and serious presence contrasts with the wild and funny personality of General Aladdin, helping the audience stays interested and on edge. This shows how even small roles in movies are needed to make the big role story work well. Adam FL's part may be short, but it helps give the Dictator the thrilling moments that make watching the movie fun and exciting for everyone. In the movie The Dictator, Megan Fox appears as herself in a short but very memorable cameo. Megan Fox is a famous actress who is known for her beautiful beauty and roles in popular movies like Transformers. In this movie, her appearance is brief but important because it adds a funny and surprising moment that makes people laugh. She meets General Aladdin during a party scene, and her presence brings a touch of real Hollywood glamour into the silly and crazy world of the movie. Even though she doesn't have a big role or long scene lines, her cameo stands out because she is such a well-known star, and seeing her play herself make the movie more fun and playful. Megan Fox's performance in this small role was light and playful. She acted like the real Megan Fox would if she met someone as strange as General Aladdin. Her friendly and cool attitude made the scene funny, especially because the movie is full of crazy jokes and silly characters. Megan didn't need to say a lot to be remembered. Her smile, looks, and relaxed style were enough to make the audience smile. Her acting was simple but perfect for the movie's fun and wild tone. This kind of quo adds a special sparkle to the film because fans enjoyed seeing celebrities act like themselves in funny situations. One challenge Megan Fox might have faced is that her role was very short, so she had to make a big impression in just a little time. When you only have a few minutes or seconds on screen, you have to use your expression and actions very carefully so the audience remembers you. Also, because the movie has a lot of jokes that are wild and sometimes a little strange, Megan had to fit her styles into this crazy world without seeming out of place. She had to balance being herself while also being part of a comedy that is over the top and silly. Megan did this very well, showing that she can be funny and relaxed even in a small part. In the end, Megan Fox in KU as herself gave the Dictator a special moment of surprise and fun. Her appearance reminded everyone that the movie was not only about silly jokes, but also about mixing real-life stars with the crazy story of General Aladdin. Even though her role was small, because charm and style made the scene stand out and gave fans reason to smile. She helped make the movie more exciting and playful by being herself, showing that sometimes a tiny role can still make a big difference. Her work added a bit of Hollywood magic to the film, making it more enjoyable and memorable for the audience. In The Dictator, Bluesty Hearts plays a character named R.A., who is one of the women who in the story connected to General Aladdin, the main character. Ray is a member of the group of women who surround the Dictator and are part of the royal or special team in his country war. Her role, though, not the lead, adds the fun and humor to the film, especially because she appears in several funny and wild scenes. Etra helps show the strange and unusual life around the Dictator, where things are very different from normal everyday life. By being part of this group, she helps build a silly and crazy world that makes the movie entertaining. Her presence shows how odd and colorful the Dictator's world is, making the story more lively and interesting. Busty Hart is known for her very confident and bold personality, and she uses this to make it stand out in the movie. Her performance is playful and full of energy. Even if her character doesn't have many spoken lines, she expresses a lot through her expressions, movements, and reactions. It has actions and are exaggerated and funny, which fits perfectly with the movie's silly style. Busty Hart's ability to be both strong and humorous adds a special flavor to the scenes she is in. Kids watching the movie can easily notice her because she is very expressive and funny without needing to say much. Her role is laughter and helps lighten the mood, rearing some of the crazier parts of the story. In the story, faces some funny but tricky situations because she is part of a world full of gender secrets and strange rules. Being close to the dictator means dealing with important and sometimes scary people. R.A. has to follow orders and act in a ways that keeps the dictator happy or oriented. This can be difficult because the dictator's life is unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. Also, since the movie is a comedy, its challenges include reacting to the wild events in funny ways. Her character must stay calm and confident even when things are chaotic or confusing. Their challenges make her role important because they show how people around powerful leaders have to be clever and brave in their own ways. All the Busty Hart's role as Etra is not one of the biggest parts in The Dictator. Her contribution is valuable because it adds humor and personality to the movie. Her energetic and bold performance make the scenes she is in more memorable and fun. By playing a character who is part of Dictator or Sunworld, she helps the audience understand how strange and funny the story is meant to be. It has told viewers that even small characters can bring a lot of life and joy to a film. And some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting. And if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.